digging in social from day one. It's something that's been a very big part of my business, especially though over the last 3-4 years, social has put us on a platform that you just really couldn't do without it. It's just very simple, but a lot of time has been invested into these platforms.
Hold up.
Welcome, Level Uppers. We're here for another episode of the Level Up Mortgages Blueprint, where we speak to entrepreneurs in the real estate, tech, and personal finance industries, and we ask them about their blueprint to success in their respective journeys. It's Paul from Level Up Mortgages, and I'm here with today's esteemed guest, Mark Salerno. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did pronounce it correctly. Thank
You're
you
like,
very much.
close enough. From
Good. It's good.
Perfect. From Salerno Real Estate, Mark, thanks for joining us, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. I'm looking forward to breaking some virtual bread as we are here, of course, in the COVID days. And what's your morning fuel? What do you got?
My morning fuel today, right now, this is my second coffee of the day. I got my McCafe iced coffee. Usually, though, it starts up when I wake up, go downstairs, and I have a nice espresso. That's my kickstart to the day.
And so obviously coming from, I'm guessing, Italian heritage, I mean, yeah, you guys must take your coffee fairly seriously, but I guess you also are like, fucking, man, like if you have a good little iced cup from McDonald's, like it does the trick, good enough, like why be pretentious about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I need one cold coffee a day, and that's usually my stop. I either go for that or Tim's, one of the two for the cold coffee.
I love it, man. Yeah, I've got to support Team Canada, right? Oh, Tim Hortons is like, they're all over the place. I've seen them in like Spain, and like they're really expanding. That's another story. Got my my little tea here, just keeping it clean.
What kind of tea are you drinking this morning?
Usually it's green tea, man. That's the classic.
Nice.
The green tea. I'm back in Vancouver for a little bit, and here we're all about that, just like healthy, untasty stuff.
Yeah.
So blending in for now, but excited to be back in Toronto in the next couple months. And hey, a few things that I guess I thought would be interesting icebreakers on a bit of your past is, well, first of all, for the audience that doesn't know you, you started to run your brokerage at age 24, and your late father started in 1970. Mario started it, 50 years ago.
He started the brokerage in 1970, but he got into the real estate game in 64.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so like
real old G, to say the least.
No kidding,
one of the originals in Toronto.
Wow, that's awesome. And like, I don't know if he started this way, but you're selling some of Ontario's arguably biggest homes, or maybe in aggregate, it's a lot of luxury, or what's kind of your.
You know what the thing is, and a lot of people, when they see it online, obviously there are people who are afraid to approach us to say, hey, I have a $700,000 townhouse, for example, because yes, we do sell a lot of nice properties, but we service all the way from one-bedroom apartment rentals all the way up to multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah, got it. Perfect. No, it's good to clarify that. And I was looking at an old interview of yours with I think it was Steven. It was like end of 2018.
Was it the one with Stefan Arano?
Yeah, I think so. And you said it was your first interview.
My first ever podcast I was on.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like a muscle. Once you get onto more podcasts, you're like, I can just be myself and talk about, I don't know, all the crazy stuff. Like it's kind of nice. You get like the dust settles a bit finally from your day. You gotta just like, I feel like it's a reflection exercise. You gotta like talk about like where you're at, and every podcast that you're on, you have new stuff to talk about because you've got new stories to tell. So I always find like it's a great sort of reset to just sort of, reflect and be proud of the stuff that you're doing. I think at that point you had 70,000 IG, aka Instagram followers. Now you're almost doubled that in a year and a half. So obviously
almost at $120.
I like it. Yeah. So you're no stranger to the new age way of doing things. I haven't asked about your TikTok account though.
Yeah. That just started like, I remember in November, I went up and put up a post saying, okay, I'm going to join TikTok. I never did anything with it for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Then in February, I had like 300 followers on it. It really wasn't anything much. And I had a viral video go off of the house that we had with the OVO court.
Oh, yeah.
And, it kind of steamrolled from there. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool that like a platform that you don't have much of a following can get such a big reach on it.
Yeah,
the video went over 1 billion views, and I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Kind of went from there with that one. So that TikTok's been pretty spectacular, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And maybe we'll start with that. I mean, I think especially during COVID, certain technology has been exacerbated. I mean, you've got like realtors using, virtual viewings and Matterport technology more and more. And I think that's all whatever. Everyone kind of knows about that. But like, yeah, around like maybe some more, I guess some tech tools, again, as a realtor or someone professional services. So you're saying TikTok's a great one. I mean, do you want to maybe dive deeper into that? Or are there any other tools you're using more based off of them being relatively untouched or maybe prime during COVID?
Like, again, going right into the COVID thing, that's when I really started making the push on TikTok, maybe a
Right.
little bit before, 3 weeks before COVID started.
Mm.
And a lot of people's hesitation, I know, with TikTok is, oh, it's an app for kids, right? And that's where the first thing when you say TikTok, that's what the reply is for people. But during COVID, I think the demographic really switched, right? With everyone being at home, you started noticing, the age demographic changing, and we are actually getting leads from TikTok. And I keep telling people, don't sleep on TikTok. People are calling my office saying, regarding the house in wherever, saw it in TikTok, right? Yeah. So I've always been a believer though of social, like, and we're talking before Instagram, before TikTok. We're talking, you can go check my Facebook, for example. Back in the day, I remember I got my license in 06, right? And that's kind of when Facebook started up, we're starting to get a little bit more mainstream. And I would make real estate albums on Facebook, 06, 07, while, typically I was 21, 22 years old at the time. People were like, we're going out. That's when go out to the club and go out to here and go back and make an album the next day of your night in depth, right? So I've been digging in social from day one. It's something that's been very big part of my business, especially though over the last 3-4 years, social has put us on a platform that you just really couldn't do without it. It's just very simple, but a lot of time has been invested into these platforms.
Yeah. And it's not always immediate return, obviously, right? So, I mean, you look at a fresh realtor, right? Let's say a fresh realtor who's like, oh man, should I spend time knocking on doors, flyering, hustling? There's these old school tactics that kind of work and the new age stuff that maybe work but take longer to build. Like, how would you form your marketing plan as like, I mean, especially someone who's selling their brand, like, and let's wind it down to like, it's 06, but it's actually now, and you're just starting, like, based off certain tools. I mean, you're going to go heavy on TikTok. Like, how do you split your time? Put it that way.
I put it this way. If I'm a new realtor, because I get this question asked to me all the time, you have to put yourself out there. And that's the first thing that you have to do, whether it's going to be through Instagram or TikTok or whatever the platform may be. Put yourself out there. And I don't mean it in the sense of saying start an Instagram account and just start taking pictures of random houses and posting it.
Yeah.
People want to see you. And I think what's really helped resonate and build my following, yes, we have beautiful properties. We're very particular in how we post and make sure that we're putting out quality, because quality is the first step of it. But I think the transparency level on how I promote myself as an individual online is huge. We get messages on the daily. Like, I was just reading one this morning from somebody last night. I put myself up on my story most days. I'm a very positive individual to begin with. So I like to spread that positivity first and show people, hey, you know what, like, this is me. And it's very important for people to see the true you of who you are. And video is the key to that. I can post a picture of myself, fine. A picture, says only so much. But in a video, by the time I get to somebody's house, because I'm always online, putting myself out there with video, they say, Mark, I kind of feel like I know you already.
Right.
So that's the big, I think, step that people are afraid to do because they're afraid to be judged of doing a video. And I think you got to be all in with video. That's my big key, whatever platform you're going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, like, you don't need to do a crazy polished video. You're just doing a hey, what's up? Right.
Anything. People want to see that you're active too, right?
Yeah. Right.
The other key. And if you're showing people what you're doing on the daily, people like to see it. And then they say, oh, wow, look, Mark's busy. He's here today. Oh, look at the property he's at.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, I think it's a very important key to be very transparent with people in who you are, the message you're trying to deliver, and be original. That's the most important key, because when you start doing video, if you're trying to portray yourself as someone you're not, it's very easily picked up on. Like, when you can watch a video and be like, is that really like the person? Or are they just trying to portray themselves as somebody else? So it's a fine line that you got to walk with it too. It's very important because it could really work for you, or it could have a real negative effect against what you're trying to do.
Right, and you'll know from the feedback or lack of feedback, I guess, right? So yeah, those are all things that, and let's be honest, you may not be getting leads right away, but it's definitely a marathon. You have to kind of look at the soft metrics. Are you getting followers? Are you getting DMs? I feel like DMs are probably the biggest metric because likes and comments are, they could just be bots, right? But actual genuine comments.
That's what I was gonna say, because Instagram, I was huge on Instagram before because I was investing, like, we're talking 4 to 6 hours a day in Instagram. It was a full
Wow.
time for
Yeah.
somebody.
Wow.
But as the app has progressed itself forward right now, I again, I hate to say this, but it's become very saturated with a lot
Totally.
of bullshit, to
Oh
be
yeah.
completely honest with you.
Totally.
And you see it all the time. That's why when people talk to me about, Mark, how many followers you have, I really could care less if I have 100,000 or 20,000. It's what am I getting back from it?
Right.
So the people who are worried about saying, "Oh, I only have 1,500 followers," for example, don't be so like mind thing on the follower count, because I see guys, like talking in the real estate world, that are out there buying fake followers to make it look like their accounts are, up here and they have this big influence, but really it's just, again, it's BS at the end of the day. So I don't focus right now on the follower growth as much as I did in the past, because I look at, hey, how many DMs, like you said, are we getting? People are inquiring about properties. That's all I care about at the end of the day, because that's going to allow me to do my job, which is sell real estate, right?
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's a good way to kind of bring it back down to earth, right? So yeah, no, I mean, as a marketing guy, I obsess around those metrics. A lot of it's vanity metrics. Part of it, perception is important. Like you see a lineup at a restaurant, you assume it's good. It's just kind of human nature. So there's definitely the personal branding component, but then you've got then there's a substance component. Are you getting leads? Are you getting engagement?
Yeah.
I think people will know fairly quickly if that's going in the right direction. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk about habits, man. I mean, part of it could be the habit of like, hey, you're busy knocking on doors, maybe working on paperwork, building your business, but you got to carve out time for the important, but maybe not urgent things like social media, like, maybe just researching, like, driving around the block and just trying to get a feel for your neighborhood. What are some habits for you that, let's talk about maybe daily habits and long-term goals, and how those merge together to help you level up to your next kind of frontier.
Yeah. So I've always been a very hard worker. And this just stems back to when I was a child, playing sports and just always wanting to be the best. It's just kind of very competitive guy.
Yeah.
And if I dabble in anything that I do, I have to make sure that I'm giving 110%, because look, there's skill, there's educational sides that you got to look at to be informative, and you have to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you can't teach that will to win. It's either you got the fire burning inside of you or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's very easy in a business where you're an entrepreneur and you have nobody really like harping down on you to say,
Right.
go do this, to become very complacent, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like for myself, even as our business is growing and we're getting to levels where we've never been before, I'm working as hard as I can, harder than I ever have been.
Right.
Because again, the bar gets set. And now it's like, I don't want to go back from, to down here. I've already been up here, right?
Right.
So for me, the most important things is following up with clients is very huge.
Yeah.
Again, it can be very easy where, you speak to someone, you kind of forget about them, and then all of a sudden it's like, where did they go, right? So like follow up and constant contact is very important when you're dealing with clients, and it's just in any business if you want to be able to move forward and close.
Like
right?
phone calls, or do you have like a CRM? You've got your list. Do you have like drip campaign? You see who's opened up your newsletter. How do you make that smart? Because you've got so many leads. How do you prioritize those, right? Either using this, text, or an email.
We've been slowly getting into the CRMs and mail drip campaigns just very recently, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The amount of leads that are coming through now, the pace that they're coming through, I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but as you know, like I have a team of 3 teammates, right? So I don't have this big team of 100 guys working for us, because my whole thing was, first of all, I'm not a manager. Okay.
Right.
So I have a brokerage, because this is different. So when you have a brokerage and you're also a team leader, we're very boutique. Traditional broker of records, or managers, their job is to, how many realtors can I hire and collect desk fees off of? And you're sitting in that role where you're behind the desk all day, and I'm just trying to recruit. I don't do that. I've never in my life, I've been now broker of record for 10 years. I've never recruited one person who's come to work for me.
So,
Everyone who's come to work for me has been someone who's approached me numerous times where I've given the opportunity to. Over the last, I don't know, maybe 12 to 16 months, I'd say we've had at least 100 to 125 realtors ask if they can come work at the brokerage.
right.
But again, that's not it's not my cup of tea to just build something like that. I want to make sure that my teammates and myself are busy to the point where we can't handle that business. That's when we take the next step up to say, okay, we need to bring somebody else in.
Right. That seems like very sustainable growth. I mean, not to single them out, but I guess I am. I mean, the whole EXP model seems like a very progressive new way of doing things. You've got people kind of like recruiting before they've even done like their first deal. It sounds a little not crazy to me, but I don't know, what are your thoughts on the whole, that kind of?
I was approached by someone from EXP about, call it, I don't know,
I have no doubt.
ago,
How long ago?
8 months ago.
Yeah.
Someone approached me about it and, was trying to sell me on the fact. And like, again, I don't want to judge how other companies do their business, but it's a totally different model.
Yeah.
Right. That's just more, like you said, focused on what other realtors can I bring in to try and springboard off of them? Like, if it makes any sense, but I didn't really look too hard into that at all, to be honest.
Yeah. It seems like a bit of a different ethos, and I don't know if it, I think it works for some people, but I feel like it's probably growing too fast. It's a mindset of growing too fast before you're adding sustained value. So I'm a little skeptical myself, but they're doing some things right, and I don't know, we'll see where they go. But that's just something I was top of mind. I thought I'd ask you about it. And let's talk about, so you talk about some of the goals of working hard. I mean, the other, and just some habits. I mean, look, man, like the other side of that is like, you can't really burn the candle on both ends. So like, there has to be some kind of balance, more so for just creativity, I find, right? Especially if you're big on social. So do you have any habits around how you like to recharge, whether it's a staycation, your favorite burger joint, like, getting your sleep? Like, what are some kind of rejuvenating habits, if any, that you try to at least do?
Yeah, if any, like, look, on average, I'll be honest, I sleep maybe 5 hours a day. That's kind of my normal schedule. Let's call it 5 to 6 is where I'm at. Because I work, and it's I don't want to say it's a problem, okay? I really work from the second I open my eyes to the second I go to sleep.
Right.
Which is I take, and this is where it goes back to saying, how serious do you take what you do? And like, for example, you may not know, but I have a family. I have 2 girls. I have a wife.
Right.
But I don't put that stuff out on my page as much as I'd like to be honest with you. So people kind of look at me and say, well, this guy's just a machine. He's working all the time. I am working all the time. I try my best to obviously set boundaries, and because family time is important and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's the mindset of, what do I do as hobbies? That these are different things. These are the things that help me, take my mind out of the work mode. I like to golf, for example.
Nice.
Right? Try and get out once or twice a week. That's my goal. Like, for me, Friday mornings are if I can get my Friday morning at the minimum out for golf, I love it. But I only will golf if I can get the first tee time out for the day, for example, the 6:20 tee time. Because you start at 6:20, you're done by 9 o'clock, 9:15. The phone really isn't too aggressive at that point.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm not one of those guys who can just put my phone away in my bag or in my cart and not answer until the end of the round. People don't like golfing with me. I'll be honest, because I have a Bluetooth in my ear talking about deals while I'm on the tee box. I'm like, this guy's like actually hitting while he's speaking to somebody. But again, that's my commitment level to what I have with my job and to my clients. Nothing is more important than that. The second someone gives me that commitment level to say, Mark, we want to work with you, I give them everything. It's just it's in my nature to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people, to some degree, expect that. There's just so many realtors, right? Like, how do you differentiate? That's a huge thing. We've talked about your online brand, but a lot of it's going to be your customer experience, and I think a lot of it is, people expect you to hustle for them and go all in. Although the other side of that is like, well, shit, once you have too many people expecting that, you've got to draw boundaries, or you've got to, bring in a teammate. So I find that it's a tough balance to have that kind of lightning speed customer service and a great customer experience, but also like you're super jammed and like you can't
That's that
possibly do it yourself.
expectation level with clients also, right? Like it's a very important thing. Like just two examples over the last 24 hours. I had a listing appointment on Sunday and said, Mark, well, are you going to be here for every showing? And I said, look, if that's what you're thinking, I can't do it. You know, when we have 25 plus listings on the market, I can only be at certain places at certain times, right? Yeah. So, you know, I will, for the people that we have to show that are direct, yes, but for the other agents, for example, and I'll tell them straight, I just wouldn't be able to commit to that. You know, and certain properties I can, certain I can't, depends on locations, because that's the other thing too, Paul. We are widespread. We're not like the traditional, you know, broker that says, I specialize in this one area. So because of our reach online, allowed us to sell in multiple cities. So if I have a listing that's 45 to 50 minutes away, you know, the expectation level of me being able to be there all the time can't happen. But am I in constant contact with the agents who are going to the house? Are we making sure that these agents are fully aware of what they're going to view? Is the house ready for them to see it, for example, where the lights are on, stuff like that? That's taken care of. But again, setting certain expectation levels is very important because I like to be very upfront and honest with my clients who are deciding to work with us.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's just the expectations, obviously, right? Communication, that's super big. Yeah. And I guess linked to that, you know, one thing that I find difficult for anyone is the concept of saying no.
Yeah.
Right? How do you say no? This could also be to a teammate or, I mean, really anyone, family member. How do you say no and not burn a bridge or hopefully or hurt someone, right? I mean, ideally, do you have you know, some catchphrases or just common methods you use for saying no in different circumstances? Or if you really think about it?
It's all dependent, obviously, on the situation. But I think when you're saying no, if you're saying it from a genuine place and they can see it's like, he's saying no to me because here's the reasons he's listed below, it makes more sense rather than just being that person that's, no, I can't do this. It just won't work. And it all comes off on how the message is delivered, right? If you want to call it. Because it's very important. If someone can sit there and understand why you're saying no, then hey, you know what? They can appreciate it at that point. Because I don't like to burn bridges with people. That's not my style at all. Because, hey, we may not be able to work together today on this, but guess what? We may work together in the future, right? So if I am going to say no to somebody, there's going to be a particular reason for it. And let's say, for example, the times where you'd be saying no would be, let's say you have a listing that you go in for a presentation. Seller has an expectation of here, and this happened to me this year. I had a listing appointment 1.5 years ago with someone. Said, Mark, I want you to list the house at 1.4. I said, look, the house is not worth 1.4. I don't want to take the listing at this price, even though I love the house. It's beautiful. I would love the opportunity. Right. But by me saying no, they ended up going through 2 realtors who weren't able to sell the property at the price they wished. Right. Okay. And we got the listing 1.5 years later, whereas to the point when they came back, they said, here's the keys, do whatever you want. I don't care how you want to list it. I'm going to give you full control. And we had great success in selling that property in 3 days. Right. And they were looking for a total of like 7 months with 2 realtors. So there's benefits of saying no, basically.
Yeah, holding your ground, right? Yeah, I think that's big, or else people push you around and you know, almost kind of bully you and even just make you do things that might make them severely disappointed. So yeah, I think it's dangerous to say yes for sure.
Yeah,
you can't back it up. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, thanks for that. Just kind of turning the page more into like the world of personal finance. I mean, what keeps me going within the mortgage industry is just the lack of financial literacy that I'm sure your kids are having now, and the lack of financial literacy that we got formally in school. Any level of school, really. And I think it's pretty sad. So if you look at like personal finance and related to that, of course, smart mortgage borrowing and leveraging yourself, like what do you think most of your clients overlook when it comes to, borrowing for their mortgage and or saving for their down payment? Like when you look at the home buying process, like what's broken there? And for people that are looking at investment properties or of course just owning a home, like what are some common things?
I think people need to, yeah, I think it depends on obviously the clientele that you're dealing with.
Right.
But you see more of those issues with the first-time home buyers, right. I would like to say, because priorities are not defined, if you want to call it, right? And people, all they focus on is, can I make that monthly payment? Like that's the key, right? And they say, okay, yeah, you know what, a $1,500 payment seems reasonable. I can take care of that. But then, especially someone who's never owned a property before, you look at that $1,500 payment, but then you have to factor in what else now do I potentially have to pull back from, right? Am I going to go out to dinner still 6 times a month?
Right.
Am I going to have that higher payment on my car that I'm leasing, right?
Right.
So I think it's expectation levels, because we live in a society of everybody wants everything now.
Right.
There's no, again, slow process to things, like take it day by day. Everybody just has that mindset, but it's because of what we see on social media, right? And what's put in front of us. 10 years ago didn't have this ability to turn on our phone and see what, Mike, Jake, and Jessica are doing. And everybody obviously online is showing you the best of everything, right? You're not seeing the worst of everything. So it makes it difficult for people to, I guess, understand and prioritize what the important levels are. So I think when you're talking about mortgages, you need to be educated thoroughly before making these decisions, because the last thing you want to do is, okay, fine, you were approved for the mortgage, you got it, but then all of a sudden your lifestyle changes, and maybe don't want to adapt to a lifestyle change because of that, and you put yourself, maybe not today, but in 6 months or a year from now, in a spot where maybe you can't handle what you're doing, right? And I think that all comes back to being educated about the process.
Mm-hmm. And also, I guess just a lot of it seems to be budgeting and having, working with a broker who's going to, maybe help you with that and help you see the bigger picture. And I wrote a blog post the other day where about 40% of the costs that you pay per month are aside from your mortgage. Yeah. And you add in especially strata fees and property transfer tax and all that stuff that you might maybe pay monthly. Like, it really adds up.
It adds up big time.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of room for some smarter ways to budget. And I feel like a lot of people just don't even bother. But, yeah, I think there's lots of opportunity there. Let's talk about, really just tapping to, like, your specific expertise. There's some interesting neighborhoods that are probably growing more than others, especially based off future urban planning. So are there any, like, kind of, if you had to pick some favorites, neighborhoods that you really see on the up and up?
You don't have to go too far. Like, so that our office is based in Vaughan.
Yeah.
The downtown core, if you want to call it, the Vaughan Metropolitan Center, where the subway opened up over a year ago.
Yeah.
The growth that's happening in that area and still is going to be happening for the next 10, 15 years is unbelievable. It really is. And when you look at, just the spectrum of the GTA, it kind of feels like Vaughan is that center hub, right? 30 minutes to downtown. You want to start going north, because obviously a lot of people now, and with COVID especially, you're starting to see, and I start to see this in our properties, that maybe weren't selling before or weren't as high, interest levels. People from the city are moving north now, and not only to Vaughan, but they're moving north to King City. They're moving north to Innisfil, Bradford, because they're saying, maybe I want to get out of the hustle and bustle of downtown. I could sell my house or my townhouse or whatever it is for $2-3 million and go
more space too, right?
Yeah, you go buy 5 acres and build a custom dream home for the same price, right? Yeah. But in general, I just really believe it. I'm not saying it because I live in Vaughan and I grew up in Vaughan. It's just what's happening in our downtown core is really special, with the subway, with all the buildings that are being built there. And the long-term perspective, I think, it's just going to get better and better right now.
Do you see more company HQs coming out there? Is there any kind of commerce influence, or is it more so just like transportation, residential stuff?
There is transportation, but there's been talks of so many different things over the years. Like, they were talking about bringing sports franchises to Vaughan, for example. Cool. We're the city above Toronto, right? So yes, there are multiple avenues, if you want to call it, of the growth aspect to it. And you're seeing a lot, because it's that area there, for people who aren't familiar with it, right at Jane and Highway 7, right on the east side of Jane Street. It's heavy industrial. Like, it's like very seriously industrial. And, you sit there and say, you have these condos being put amongst these industrial spots. It's not really the best, like when we post on TikTok or Instagram, we show the, and they're all, who would want to look out in an industrial unit? That stuff is all going to change. Okay. Yeah. And we're talking restaurants. We're talking just the growth pattern there. And if you go online, I'm sure you could Google the video of the VMC, Vaughan Metropolitan Center. You look at that video and your mouth drops and say, wow, that's what they're creating here. It's truly spectacular. So it's a big thing. I've been saying it for years. As the subway comes up, we were talking at $500 a square foot. Now you're approaching close to $1,000 a square foot on these units, right? For the pre. So it's pretty interesting, to say the least, because now you're talking about comparing with Toronto pricing.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. And a lot of people, I think, are especially looking at investment properties of cost of capital being so low, right? So on the mortgage end, we're looking at, sub 2%. And a lot of people are looking to invest kind of as co-ops, groups, and even just friends and family, which of course, could have its issues if you don't have the right kind of, shareholders agreement or, certain side agreements you want to have. But like, yeah, any recommendations for people that are looking to invest in real estate, pull out of the stock market? What kind of tips or usual strategies do you see as far as people looking at pre-sales, resales? Just what's the
I think that when people look at pre-con, for example, make sure that you're going to be prepared to close at the end of it. It's one thing to come up
right?
with a down payment, but there was many times I've spoken to people and they're making X amount a year and they're like, oh, I just bought 4 condos. Okay, it's great you had the down payment for them, but are you going to get the mortgage for these when it's time to close? Because, a lot of people turn and say, well, you know what, it's okay because I'll assign it, for example, right?
Oh, right,
But
right.
you can't assign that unit. You're going to be stuck with it and you can't close with it. And then all of a sudden it becomes an issue. So we found, I tell a lot of people who are looking to get in as first-time buyers, buying assignment sales are actually a very good thing if you're patient and you can find the right one. Because I've noticed, and this is just from personal on myself and for our clients, we've bought a lot of pre-con units where we've only paid like a 1% to maybe 5%. And some units we bought at the same price people bought at 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because people need their money back. And you know what happens with the buildings? They tell you 3 years, but it's really 5 to 6 years and people's plans change. That's where it comes in. Now, maybe someone's getting married. Before when they bought it, they were single, but now they're getting married. They need that money to go buy their family home. And hey, if it's not built yet and you need the money, you might have to take a deal that maybe if you had the patience or if you were able to close, you could have made a little bit more, right? So it's all about finding those deals in particular.
Yeah, and I would think as an investor, well, who are the people who overshot things? I mean, I love to talk to them and get it for pennies on the dollar. Are those things you have the inside scoop on, or like what are some tactics to try to mine?
You really got to find them. Like we're part of a big realtor network that we deal with. There's probably I think now 4,000 realtors in it. They post a lot of really is where they come through, right? And then it's just look, a lot of them with the way the market's gone, you're talking about a $520,000 unit that today is worth $750 and it hasn't closed yet, right? But again, there are particular situations where you have to find them. It's not very common to get them, but if you have a bead on it, it can be very lucrative if you can get your hands on them.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it seems like something people should be looking at. So you gave some good caveats there, and so you get, especially around pre-sales, around resales, or just kind of regular kind of I guess existing buildings and properties. I mean, what are your thoughts on detached versus condos? I mean, especially if you look at the cap rate of things, the rate of return. I mean, not to get too technical and too kind of financy, but are there certain things that you're more bullish on, especially given this, I don't know, the certain
I'm always more bullish on the freehold market in general. So, again, the condos are easier plays. And when I say easier, it's kind of set it and forget it. The maintenance aspect of it is fairly minimal because the building will take care of any issues that happen, and especially if you're buying in a newer building. It's kind of just get your tenant in there a little more carefree as opposed to buying, maybe a 5-year-old, 20-year-old house, whatever the case may be. You got to start worrying about windows, roof, furnace, AC, all that stuff. But the upside on the freehold is a lot greater than the condo market, in my opinion. But then it comes down to affordability because obviously you're not buying a detached home or a townhouse for the price that you're going to buy a condo for. But to give an example back to what I was talking about with Vaughan, if you went back now, 2014 at the time, they were selling pre-construction units and you're paying $455 for a 2-bedroom, 868 square foot condo. But at the time you could have bought a freehold town for $500. And at the time I was saying the value is exponentially better in buying this town or semi. Now, if you look down the road now, those same units, condos are worth $650.
Yeah.
One's worth $850, $900, close to $1 million. So I think there's more growth for purchase price and the sale price of a freehold as opposed to the condo because typically they move a lot slower. And I don't know how it is in BC, but if you rewinded back to 2010 to 2013, condos, you were lucky if they went up 2-3% in a year. Someone who bought a condo and wanted to sell it the next year, after paying your land transfer tax, after paying your realtor fees, you were losing money. It's just very simple. Anyone who bought a condo and tried to do that, they were done. You couldn't make money on it. Now, someone who could have bought a condo, because of the way pricing has been moving, you could make $100,000. So it all comes down to your affordability level. But if you can get into the freehold market, I would suggest getting into the freehold market.
Yeah, cool. Those are some good points, man. And look, hey, time flies. We're kind of at the end here. I mean, just some notes I have in my head or things that really stood out is, yeah, I think it's cool. First of all, I think around work ethic for the entrepreneurs that are tuning in, it's clear that like you've really kind of set, you've really just, I mean, you have that drive. It comes in the family, but also, you do have some balance. And I think even like having golf Friday mornings, something you look forward to, and whether you do it every Friday or not, I think is maybe a good carrot to have to kind of just, let you just keep you kind of fueled up. Obviously family is a big time, and I'm sure you kind of carve out your non-negotiable times. So, I mean, it's always a balance to kind of balance.
One thing I want to add to it too,
Sure, yeah.
like the hobby stuff, for example, and opportunities, and with social media, for example, I'm not going to put names into this and name drop, but I collect cards. Okay, so I collect sports cards, and I, started collecting over the last handful of months.
Nice.
Over the last couple of weeks, I'll sometimes on my story post, picked up this card and tag the guy in it or whatever the case may be.
Big on TikTok now. I just like girl actually, as a realtor in Toronto, his girlfriend's like going all out on TikTok with sports cards.
Cards have exploded. You saw the LeBron James rookie card sell 2 days ago for 1.85 US million.
Wow.
$1 million. So it's becoming very mainstream. Gary Vee's been behind it for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
And again, it's becoming very mainstream. I don't know if you want to use this like the .com bubble with cards or whatever, but things are on fire right now. But going back to the story was, I put on my story about a sports guy. I said, got this fire rookie card in, tag the guy. I was going out to dinner and I got a message from him.
Yeah.
We're talking a top 5 individual in this sport.
Wow.
And it was coincidence. He's like, coincidence. My mom's looking to buy a place in Toronto or Ottawa.
Cool. Look at that. Wow.
So just from me posting a hobby of mine, it, with this crazy world of social media, it gets in front of somebody. They take a look at your profile. Hey, he's a realtor. I probably just had this conversation with my mother about talking about buying something up there. And now all of a sudden, like, we had a full conversation, exchanged phone numbers. So like, it's wild. And that's hobby based. That's not me trying to sell something to somebody. It's just me showing who I am and, got my profile looked at. So you got to have a balance and have fun with what you're doing really at the end of it. You can't just be work. I think it's nice to add a different element to it. But it's just, we have the opportunities with social media and people overlook them. And the people who are overlooking them, or maybe people who are not having success. So for anybody who's watching this, if you're not having that immediate success, be patient with it. Really, fine tune it, put the time into it, and you will reap the benefits from it long term. Just don't stop. Get that mindset out of it. Has to be right now.
Yeah, no, I love it. And obviously, it's cool to sort of think about maybe less sexy but lucrative and interesting opportunities, like, again, the freehold market. Looking at Vaughan is a really up and coming area that's already, has a lot of great, things happening there. I've got a couple good friends that are out there. So yeah, I think you've got your finger on the pulse of a lot of things. And I like the way you're kind of also setting boundaries with clients, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to scale yourself properly, and you have to just set the right expectations and stay competitive.
You'll burn yourself then if you don't, to be honest. And I think the most important thing is people have to understand the value of what you bring to the table.
Totally.
Because if someone doesn't understand your value, you probably don't want to work with them anyway.
Yeah, and we didn't even get into that. I do a lot of sales training, but to qualify someone out, to find a reason why they're not the right lead, or at least the right lead right now, I think is a hard. It ties into the skill of saying no, but also it's something that really it's about like finding like who's going to understand your value, hopefully your premium value, and they're not going to shop you around, or in the mortgage world, rate shop. So that's a whole other topic that
that maybe we can get to another day.
Yeah, I love it. Well, hey man, thanks again for everything. This is
appreciate
great.
You having me on. This was a really nice conversation. So thank you very much.
I'm glad you found that. And was there anything that you wish we could have dove more into that you want to leave the audience with, beyond, of course, giving a bit of like the best place for them to reach you? Although, of course, I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah,
honestly, I don't really think anything too much. It's just that the stuff that I get approached for more on the daily are people who are up and coming into the business, that we get messages literally on the daily of saying, Mark, how can we do this? So if anybody's watching this, I always tell people, go to my Instagram page and look at my story highlights. I do a lot of parts where I'll do story days, where I'll do answer questions. And I post everything up on my story. There's a section that's called Ask Me in my highlights section, where just every kind of run of the day questions that are asked are all on there. A lot of valuable information. And again, a lot of truthful, just straightforward kind of answers that I put out there for people to hopefully enjoy and utilize for themselves and their business.
I love it. That's super cool, man. Well, great. Thanks again. Be safe. I'll see you in TO hopefully soon. We're up at Vaughan. I'm actually there fairly often.
If you're up by the office, we'll have a coffee, right? Or maybe a tea.
Or an espresso. Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to flip a coin. Perfect. Well, Mark, thanks again, man. And for those watching, hopefully you got some great nuggets of gold, some great entrepreneurship fire. And as always, keep leveling up your living.
Have a great day.
You too, man. Thanks a lot.
Take care.